Yeah, Santa People KW is back and we are discovering the world little bit by little bit. And today, right now, I'm going to share with you some stuff that I found online, some things I just thought were really funny, really cool, and I'll share with you some things. So this first thing that I came across today is a story. It's about a Twitch streamer, and this is a type of thing that it's happened before, but this particular one made me laugh quite a bit. So this Twitch streamer by the name of Tis Parker, he's doing a stream, they're having fun, they're doing their thing, and I guess at some point they start, looking at stuff online, look up stuff online, and he's got his browser on display, and as he clicks, on Google Chrome, I guess other browsers do this as well, you click to start typing in, but it shows your search history as you click down, right? And once I say search history, I think you might know where I'm going with this. So he clicks on it, and he's taking a sip of his drink, he's cleaning out his glasses, and then somebody in the chat writes search history. So as he's put his glasses on, search history, and he looks at the screen, and lo and behold, his search history was quite interesting. It was quite interesting. He had some things in there. So yeah, it's one of the gotta be careful what you search, especially when you stream. It's one of these things that happen to all streamers. I mean, I know that I've done streams where I've done stuff where I've accidentally put things out there where it's like, oops, shouldn't have done that. So it happens. It's one of these things. No need to feel bad about it. But yeah, just one of those points to be careful on when you're live streaming. Be careful what you search. Be careful what you have on your screen. Well, it makes for a funny video at least, and it definitely could have been a lot worse. At least he didn't have like his address and phone number out there, so it could have been a lot worse. But here's the thing. As this has now come up, a couple of things piqued my interest in the search history, and I'll come to the more obvious one in a second. But if you look a bit further down, there's one that says Japanese number 4, and that kind of piques my interest a little bit. So I searched it. Why was some of you look up Japanese number 4? I don't know. So I searched Japanese number 4, and what I found turns out that the number 4 in Japan is actually considered an unlucky number. And the reason behind that is because it's pronounced shi, which is the Japanese word for death. This is according to the article I read. If that's wrong, blame them, not me. I'm just going by what I found online. But it's considered an unlucky number. So much like number 13 in the Western world is considered an unlucky number, number 4 in Japan is considered an unlucky number. There's actually 6 unlucky numbers. I didn't find the other 5, but 4 was one of the unlucky numbers in Japan. And so you might have hotels, hospitals, things like that don't have a number 4, just like in the UK and America as well, you have places that don't have a number 13. So if you ever go to Japan one day and you ask for 4 sushi rolls and everybody starts to move away from you, now you know why. But the other thing that he searched right at the top, you see there, is it illegal or can you have sex illegally in cars? Turns out, and this was quite fascinating for me as well, because I thought sex in public places is illegal. That's what I always thought. So in America, let's start with America real quick. So in America, depending on which state you're in, it's either a misdemeanor or it could be a more serious charge. And in other states, it depends on which specific sexual acts that you do and determine what the punishment is. In the UK, however, it's not illegal to have sex in public places, unless you get caught. It's kind of an interesting law. And I guess when you hear that, it's like, well, isn't that all laws? It's only illegal if you get caught, like stealing's only illegal if you get caught, or if you don't get caught stealing, no one's going to put you in jail, right? So it's kind of sounds like that when I first heard it. But it pretty much comes down to the fact that the law recognizes that it's a difficult thing to police. And also there's a lot of nuance to the situation as well, depending on where it is and what's going on and things like that. So it's technically not illegal, but if it's like you're in a place and somebody sees you and they make a complaint of some kind of indecency, you could get fined for that or arrested for that. If you're doing it in a place like very crowded or something like that, lots of people are looking in, yeah, you could get fined or arrested for that, especially if it's like near a school or something like that. Yeah, you could land yourself in trouble. If you're having sex while driving a vehicle, that could be a problem, right? But yeah, if it's like somewhere secluded or in a deep in the forest at night or whatever, or just somewhere where no one's gonna see you, you know what I mean? Like no one's gonna come to you and be like, oh, you had sex in the car, then I'm gonna call the police. You know what I mean? It's not like that. So it really depends on where it is, what's going on, who sees it, and stuff like that. So yeah, it's quite interesting find to that. But moving on from that, Let's talk a little bit about marriage now. And I don't know, should we talk about, should we have talked about marriage before sex, or should we talk about sex before marriage? I don't know. You let me know. But anyway, it's another interesting story I found. It was about, I guess it's not a massive surprise that video games do this, especially a game like Elder Scrolls, where they have rings available for you to buy, real life rings based on things in the game. That's not a surprise in itself, and it's not even surprising that these things are quite pricey. But it did get me thinking that you buying a wedding ring that's $1,000 for somebody, like, there's very few people I imagine you can buy that for. And bear in mind, $1,000 isn't like the most expensive wedding ring. There's plenty of wedding rings that cost way more than $1,000. But even still, it's a pretty substantial amount of money. It's not a small amount of money for most people. So if you're going to spend that kind of money, you couldn't buy that for just anybody. Like, that's the type of thing that you could only buy for an Elder Scrolls fan. Like, you'd have to be marrying an Elder Scrolls, like, you have to be an Elder Scrolls fan yourself, like a pretty hardcore Elder Scrolls fan yourself, and then be marrying someone who's a pretty hardcore Elder Scrolls fan. Because if you buy that for somebody else and they're not really into it, they don't really care for it, and it's got on the engraved, it says with this ring and Mara's blessing, that's a direct Elder Scrolls reference. That's going to mean nothing to anybody else, right? So you have to be marrying a pretty hardcore Elder Scrolls fan. So, but it does seem like there's things like, how many people are you selling this to? Like, I don't know. That's what I'm thinking. Like, there's got to be enough people around the world to warrant them doing it, right? But it just seems like, to me, at least in my mind, a very small group of people who are, because I mean, don't get me wrong, there's loads of people who love Elder Scrolls, but to love it enough to buy it as a wedding ring for your partner that you plan to spend the rest of your life with, who's also a hardcore Elder Scrolls fan, I don't know, that feels like a niche market within a market within, you know what I mean? Like, so, stranger things that happen, I suppose, but I guess for hardcore Elder Scrolls fans out there, there is an option for you if you're marrying a hardcore Elder Scrolls fan. There's also another option where you can buy a silver ring for $85, but I feel like if you're buying that for somebody, they'd know you went with a cheap option. If they're an Elder Scrolls fan, they'll know you went with a cheap option. You know, it's silver, it's not as epic looking. Yeah, they'll know. You'd have to go with $1,000. If you're gonna do it, then you gotta do it right. Go with $1,000 Elder Scrolls. I mean, it's a once in a lifetime thing, and it's not the most expensive wedding ring out there, so I guess there's that to it. But if you're an Elder Scrolls, hardcore Elder Scrolls fan, and you're marrying someone who's a hardcore Elder Scrolls fan, that's the option for you. And the last thing I want to talk about today, the last thing I discovered with this kid who was born with his 2 front teeth as an overbite, but a very protruding large overbite. You know, it was so large that, you know, other kids made fun of him, calling names. He got bullied, he got picked on, and that kind of thing. He went through that for, I think, like the first, was it 11 or 12 years of his life as a child. So he went through quite a lot of hardships, and it got to a point where his teeth were so large that it affected the way he spoke, affected the way he was eating. So it became a problem as well, not just aesthetically, but, you know, a physical problem. So, you know, the parents, they decided, you know, they've got to do something about this. The problem, however, is that the treatment to get it taken back is really expensive. And then on top of that, they're having all these other issues where, like, there was I think it was an earthquake that destroyed their house, it destroyed their car, you know, so they got that issue on top of the fact that it's all expensive anyway. So it seemed like at a point, like, you know, what we're going to do? Like, we need to do something, but we can't have the money, we can't afford it, we've got all this going on. But then the community, and this is where the really cool part, the community kind of banded together, and they set up a fundraising where people donated money, and everybody kind of chipped in, so they eventually get his teeth operation. So, you know, had a nice happy ending. But it's just a really cool story of community really coming together in times of crisis, because, you know, it's very easy to look at things and be like, oh, that's their problem, that's their problem. And of course, nobody's under any obligation to give anything to anybody. You know, we're not required to, right? But when you see things like this happening, and you see what people are going through, and you know that you can help, and the fact that a lot of people, well, enough people came together to be like, you know what, let's do something, let's all chip in. Maybe individually we can't afford it, but we put enough money together, a little bit from here, a little bit from there, and it all comes together. So it's a really cool thing, and it's just cool to see stuff like that happening. And it's just really nice to hear about these things. You just wish there were much more of these stories, you know, when people come together in times of crisis, when people are going through things, when people are having hardships or having a tough time. It's cool to have these stories where you see the community come together to help out and to just have a positive outcome, you know. So yeah, more stories like that, more positivity in the world. That's what we need. But yeah, that's gonna be it for this video. Just some things I thought were really cool, really funny, really interesting. Some things going on around the world as we discover the world little bit by little bit. So I mean, if you know of any cool stories like that, any funny, interesting, weird, wonderful stories like that, then yes, send them through. I'll see what I can do. In the meantime, I've got more videos over there, my comedy channel over there, movie/video game channel over there. Check them out, be much appreciated. But that's gonna be it for the minute, so guys, until whenever, if ever, peace.